Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be able to introduce you to Anne Fonfa. She's the director of the Annie Appleseed Project. And I met Anne several years ago, and I ended up speaking at one of your conferences. I love her work. I love what she stands for. She's really a voice for so many people out there when it comes to healing cancer naturally. And welcome to the show, Anne. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be talking to you about stuff.
Yeah, you got some good things to share. I'm excited about this. So you are a breast cancer conqueror, thriver. So tell us a little bit about your journey with breast cancer and what you learned from that journey.
Like most of us, no family history. I was diagnosed right before my 45th birthday, and I didn't know anybody living with cancer. And I don't know about other people's experiences, but a lot of people said, oh yeah, my cousin's, oh, but she died. Oh, my best friend, oh, but she died. My God, like, oh, really? Thanks for that.
Right.
So, and it combined with a diagnosis on a Thursday, nurse telling me there's an opening on Monday. Knowing nothing about medicine, never having had surgery, I thought if you have fast surgery, you're really sick. And I thought I had the worst cancer in the universe. So Thursday, Friday, I go to work. Got documents from 1-800 for cancer, which turns out to be at Memorial Sloan Kettering. I was in Manhattan, at New York City at the time. Saturday, I lay in bed with my husband, telling him lies. Oh, don't worry, it'll be great. We'll be fine. And thinking, this is my last Saturday on earth. This is so pathetic. Sunday at 8 p.m., I get a phone call, and this woman says to me, you don't know me, but I'm a 10-year breast cancer survivor. And I was like, yes, this is it. I know I can do that. And it changed everything, literally.
Wow.
And, for years, I dwelt on what she said. I heard her words. And right after surgery, and, had a lumpectomy, I knew nothing, believe me, nothing. I didn't ask any questions because I couldn't envision a situation in which the doctor didn't tell me everything that I needed to know. That's a hint there, folks. Let's get back to that later. So I didn't ask any questions, but I didn't know anything. There was no internet in 1993, it was January. So when I woke, one of the nurses in recovery said to me, you had a lumpectomy and now you're fine. And I repeated that to myself endlessly over the years, and now you're fine. And I, felt between those two things, that's what helped me get going. But, as soon as I realized that the surgeon failed to tell me that he was going to remove, without my express or informed consent, 18 lymph nodes from my left, I realized that I better learn some stuff or else. Now, I joined a support group where other women knew a little bit of stuff. And I consider myself very much a generalist who puts things together. So one woman said her father had breast cancer. The doctor told her it didn't matter. It only matters what your mother has. And so, I said, wait, because I know 10th grade biology, and you get chromosomes from mommy and daddy, and they mix, and that's you, and how can it not matter? So that was one thing. She also said, and this was astounding to me, she said she asked her surgeon not to cut the nerve in her arm. So a lot of us, after surgery, we have this big numb area, and it never gets any better. And now I knew why, because they actually cut the nerve. So her surgeon didn't cut her nerve. So I go to my doctor, the surgeon, and I said, why did you cut the nerve? And this is what he said. And this is why I became an advocate, an activist. He said, well, sometimes scar tissue develops and then we have to cut in and cut through it. So we just cut it. Oh, that's really fabulous. I mean, first of all, those of us who use cocoa butter to remove scar tissue know that you can remove a scar tissue anywhere in the body with cocoa butter. It gets absorbed. I've done it, and other people as well. So to cut a nerve that's only going to make it numb for the rest of your life, why do you do that? So these little things motivated me into realizing, holy cow, this is like bizarrely ridiculous. Like, has a human being ever examined the protocol? This is your plan? You're going to make us numb forever because maybe something will go wrong and you'll have to, it's just ridiculous.
Right. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. The other part for me was I didn't sleep for 6 days after the surgery. I'm chemically sensitive and I react differently. And at the time I was ferociously ill with chemical sensitivity, and breast cancer. It didn't hurt, I didn't feel anything. And the chemical sensitivity, every time I smelled something, I passed out or I had to go to bed for 3 days with a headache. And it's just, that was the big issue in my life. So now I have a big numb area. I can't sleep for 6 nights. And, that makes you crazy. So by the end of 6, it was bad. Okay, so now I start thinking. And I say to myself, okay, I'll see an oncologist, but, My uncle died a couple of years ago with cancer, and they told me that he needed chemo and radiation or he'd die in a few months. And I said, oh my God, we give him chemo and radiation, and he dies in 3 weeks. And I say to the doc, what happened? And they said, well, we didn't promise anything. I mean, I misunderstood them. I thought it was a deal. They gave him treatment, he would recover, but of course that was ridiculous. So one of the first things that I tell people who talk to me about cancer, ask what the outcome is supposed to be. What are they expecting? Because lots of people say to me, well, I was diagnosed stage 3, stage 4, and they want to do this, that. And I say, okay, ask them what the outcome is that they're thinking of. Because we, the people, are thinking we're going to be cured.
Right.
And well, we'll give you another 3 weeks. You'll be suffering through that time. But, okay, but I'm not opposed to whatever treatment decisions people make. That's not my job. My job is to give people what I've chosen as my job, give people the evidence for making decisions. So it's possible to go through chemotherapy and or radiation in the healthiest possible way. And those are the evidence-based tools we give people in a handout we have on our website, AnnieAppleseedProject.org. And I think that's really valuable because I'm not judging people. You do what's right for you. You do you. I did me.
Exactly.
And that's fair. That's fair. So that's one thing we have. The other thing is we show people how to reduce their risk of recurrence of their first time with cancer too, because as you know, and as we have shared in the past, what you eat, that's number one. So the first thing that I did after diagnosis was I was a vegetarian, but I traveled for business all through the 70s and 80s. Oh, try being a vegetarian when you're on the road. So I would have, the gang my crew would go to Wendy's and I'd go with them, but I didn't have the hamburger because I was a vegetarian. So I'd have an empty white bread bun with whatever sauce they had, the ketchup, the pickles, and I ate that. And I thought, this is great. And then eventually I said, okay, I'll have a baked potato with nothing on it and a salad. But it wasn't organic. It wasn't really healthy. And I was not being healthy. So when I got diagnosed with cancer, I'd already switched to organic for like 5 years before that. But it wasn't enough. So then I became 100% organic vegan. I don't think you have to be a vegan, but I think you have to be 100% organic as much as possible, or as I like to say, whenever possible. Because all those chemicals, and this is another area I'm interested in, research is done, as you know, we take a mouse, poor little mouse, and we give it 1 drop of a dangerous chemical and we see what happens. Then we give its brothers and sisters, usually brothers, a whole bunch, we do 6 or 7 or 10 or 50, whatever we're doing, 1 drop, 1 chemical. Oh, look, nothing really terrible happened. It's hard to give mice cancer, we have to work on it. So no one looks at the 10,000 chemicals exposed this week and next week and in 6 months and your years of experience. I was born in 1948. That was when they started using pesticides. So my entire life has been in a pesticide exposure.
Yeah.
My grandparents, as we say, they ate food. They didn't call it organic. They didn't have any pesticides.
Yeah.
But we have it from childhood. So from infancy, I had the worst of the worst. And then over time, what's that cumulative thing mean? We don't know because that's very rarely studied. So that's why I go 100% organic. Even when I travel, and I travel a lot, I go to a lot of conferences and meetings. I try to gather information and share what I know. And I bring with me organic nuts, organic dried fruit. I bring carrots. I bring apples because they last pretty long even if you don't get a refrigerator. But by the way, every hotel has refrigerators. You can ask, or you can take everything out of the minibar and put your food in. That's what I do. And that works for me. And if I can, I go to a health food store within the city or a supermarket. A lot of supermarkets have organic. Mm-hmm. And I do the best I can while I'm traveling, but I won't eat hotel food because it's genetically modified, and that's a definite no for me.
Yeah,
so,
good for you. Good for you. Now, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So you, on your notes that you sent me, you said that you've had many recurrences.
Yes, that's right.
So tell me about that. And because, people are going to say, well, if you changed your diet and you got better, then why did the cancer come back?
Yeah, so mine's a very interesting story. I'm the tumor queen of North America, probably the world, but we don't know for sure. So, I found the first lump. It was like a callus on my left breast at 2 o'clock, which, by the way, 50% of breast cancer is left breast at 2 o'clock. Why is that? Digestive meridian, plus many others, as Dr. George Love, the Qigong master and doctor of Oriental medicine who always presents at our conference, he does a great job of it, told me there's at least 4 meridians, maybe 5, that go through there. Okay, so I found that callus area. Second, so now maybe, I don't know, I want to say a year and a half later, I feel something right in the same spot as the first lump. Now, the surgeon said he got it all. Okay, ignore that. So I feel this lump and I go to my new surgeon, whom I chose. I didn't even know I could choose a doctor. So I choose a surgeon, woman. And she says, oh, it's so granular. It's probably nothing. Why don't you wait for your mammogram? So this was October 1994, 18 months later. But I have lobular, invasive lobular. That doesn't really show up on a mammogram. But I didn't really know that. So I said, oh, okay. So we wait till January, have a mammogram. And I'm a wisecracker. And I say to the radiation, the person, the tech, she says, you should have a biopsy. And I say, I bet you say that to everybody. And she says, no, you had breast cancer. You have a lump. You should have a biopsy. So I have a surgical biopsy. And underneath this lump, which is cancer, I have another lump, but I didn't see it because it doesn't show up on anything. Okay, but here's the great news. Those two tumors, the second and the third, grew slower than normal cells. Now, all the doctors are saying, oh, no, you can't do chemo. Don't do chemo. They're growing so slowly, it'll kill everything else. So I say, well, there's no problem there because I'm not doing chemo. I'm chemically sensitive, not the right thing for me. I also didn't do radiation, and I didn't do the hormones for the same reason. I don't react well to so during this biopsy, I was awake. I can't take the anesthesia because I'll be awake for 6 days. So I said, everything has to be done locally. Okay, so I have this, what they call a second lumpectomy. And then, I don't know, maybe a few months later, I have more tumors, and they're all around my nipple on the left side. There's 6 more tumors.
Wow.
Biopsy this, but my breast is shot to hell because shot to whatever, because once you remove stuff from your nipple, what's left, but really I will say from the first lumpectomy, I lost all good feeling in my breast. It was very uncomfortable. Anyway, so now these 6 tumors, they're also the same, very slow growing, slower than normal, but they're the same cancer, invasive lobular. So now I say, okay, I better have a mastectomy, which they had told me right up front, oh, you need a salvage mastectomy. And I don't do things because it's an automatic, I said, I'm Annie Fonfa. I want to do what's right for me. I don't want to just do what you do to everybody. Anyway, now I needed a mastectomy. But no one told me, and this is great, I had 14 tumors show up after the mastectomy. Total of 25, 9 in the breast, 1, 2, and then 6, okay, 9 in the breast, and then 14, not all at once, but 2, 4, 3, 1, 3, whatever, until I had 14. So this is after mastectomy. So when I say to this surgeon, why would I have a mastectomy if you now tell me that I'm stage 4? Because it's on the chest wall. 2 doctors tell me I'm stage 4, no tests whatsoever. They just assume that because it's on the chest wall, and I say, what do you, and the guy actually said to me, well, it's probably a metastatic occurrence. It went through your body and it came back out on the chest wall. And I said, did you say probably? The other doctor said, well, it may be. I said, you said maybe? You're telling me I have metastatic breast cancer? And it's a maybe? Okay, so I was stage 4 in 1997. That was the diagnosis. But you know what? I ignored them. I don't care what they say. I did I did me. I took dietary supplements. I did exercise. I did my organic diet. I learned how to juice. I detoxed. I did coffee enema starting February 1995. And I'm now over 25-year survivor. For those of you who do math, 1993, 2018.
Awesome. What a great story. I love hearing that. Stage 4 people, we go to the doctor and they tell you you're stage 4. What do you think of right away? The end is death, right? It does not have to be that way. And you're a living example, as so many other women are. So congratulations. That's so awesome. Now, one of the things that I wanted to mention too, I've created that 7 essential system so that women could have a step-by-step guide to walk them through this healing journey, because as you know, you can draw bits and pieces of every kind of information. And essential number 4 is about healing your emotional wounds. And I know that you've done a lot of work in that department, and happiness is such an important aspect of our healing. So can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. So I found my fear was less than most people. It just was. I always felt like I was going to be okay. I felt like I had a path, and I felt like I had a job, mission. My mission was to share what I kept learning with other people. I started a support group, and that group was discussions. It was called Whole Health Study Group. And I felt like, and maybe this is just me, I don't know, but everyone depended on me to bring the information and to share the information and to be the leader. And I felt like I had to be okay, and that made me okay. I have to say that I'm not fearful. In general, I'm very practical and very pragmatic. But I took every little tool. I believe in the little joys of life. The little joys are a child's laughter, a beautiful flower. I have some beautiful fake flowers behind me. I set myself so that I can see them. because I like them, you know, the colors, I love colors, little things, you know, the joys of life. And I often joke with people that Halloween is my big holiday, my birthday, Halloween, and Pride. I'm not very religious, so I don't really have holidays, but on Halloween one year, and I don't give out candy because how can I justify giving candy to children when I don't believe
Exactly.
avoid sugar added. So I gave out little toys. I think that I had glow in the dark skeletons and a couple of, anyway, and some whistles, you know, ghost whistles, witch whistles. And within 10 minutes, my whole neighborhood was whistling. And I can remember the sound when I want to be happy and I need a little boost. I say to myself, everybody's whistling. And I feel good because, yeah, little things.
Sweet.
And you can find that every single day.
And tell us how important it is to have a positive, happy, grounded, focused attitude, because, you know, we know the science is there, but just, you know, explain to our audience why that's such an important part of healing.
Yeah, that's a great question, because one of the things that I know, scientifically speaking, there are always survivors. So even with a cancer that's, you know, we don't have a clue, there are always survivors. So there's 10% survivors, 7, whatever it is. I say to people, put yourself immediately into the survivor category. Why would you be in any other category, you know? I mean, I say, hey, I'm a survivor. I'm going to be in that 10%. Why not? Someone's going to be, and I choose that.
Exactly.
So, you know, sometimes people worry that it's like a burden to be happy. And so I say, happiness is in little pieces. You can have moments when you're petrified, but you got to get past that. And you have to establish for yourself that you can be happy and this is your life. And if you're going to die of cancer, everybody dies. So if you're going to die, which we all are, you may as well live well, because that's the best answer to everything. Live in the moment. I tell my husband this all the time. Live in today. Here we are now. Be here now. You know, and that's a good thing to do. And find the joy, because there's always something to be joyful about.
So how did you pick the name Annie Appleseed Project? That's a great story.
Yeah, so my sister is a poet. My mother was like a stand-up comedian, and I'm a literature major, let's say. I was English lit major. And we spent this one day, we were all, throwing names out, and I fell asleep. When I woke up, I said, I know what it is. I've got it. And I knew it right. I knew it from the beginning. I just didn't formulate it. But, Johnny Appleseed in the US, a great story about spreading civilization by growing apple trees, and people wanted to live where there were trees with fruit, an apple a day. So, and my name is Anne. So Annie Appleseed had the same ring to it as Johnny Appleseed. And then Project, I just threw in there.
Great story.
Spreading seeds of information, of hope, information, help to people. And we help them through our website, our Facebook page, our e-newsletter, on the phone, texting, email. We answer everything. We is sometimes the royal we, but I do have a group. It's just that I'm the only person crazy enough to volunteer every single day of the year. That's what I do.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So your advocacy work, tell us a little bit about that. What exactly how do you support people through your project?
So, there's a couple of things that I think are really important. Telling mainstream physicians in the oncology world and mainstream patients who don't know about what we do, to me, is very important. So I go to conferences and I hand out our little cards. I don't know if you can see them, but what it says is 3 steps for health. And the first step is 1 more fruit and 1 more vegetable a day. Anyone can do that. Even Americans who don't eat fruits and vegetables could do 1. So we say 1 more every day. Second step is taking a walk. I don't say how far, how fast, but the third step is taking deep breaths. We say 7 deep breaths to relax. So what we're showing is there's simple things that doctors can show their patients, and really doctors do not object to this little card. It's cute, and it's interesting, and so they can hand it out in their office. So our volunteers go all over the country, not just me, to conferences, events, cancer centers, yoga studio, massage, health food stores, wherever, and put the cards out. So people find it and they get this way to start. One of the things I've always objected to at meetings and conferences is the professionals are like removed from us. So an exercise professional will say 30 minutes a day, vigorous physical activity, 5 days a week. And I say, first of all, they started out years ago saying 60 minutes a day. And I said, what I hear is barrier. I just heard barrier. I can't do that. Even to this day, I don't do that. I mean, in the beginning, I did do an hour a day, I have to say. But my husband's a champion athlete. He's 3-4 hours a day. I'm 20 minutes a day. Thank you very much. And that, I'm 70 now, so I still do the same 20. But at the hour, I did do the first couple of years. And now it's not me. But,
And
you
you
know,
don't look 70. I thought you were like, you look 60, 55. You look
healthy
beautiful.
lifestyle really has to count for something, and it's working for me. But the bottom line is, don't start people where they can't start. You know, you're making a block. So I'm going to the mainstream and saying, let's be human about this. Let's be realistic. Let's give people a starting point. So our 3 steps for health, anyone can do them. Okay, you want to do more? Yeah, great. Get involved, do more. But start somewhere. And most people, it's very difficult to start at 30 minutes, obviously ridiculous, you know, and you can't become a vegan overnight. Many friends have said to me, I can't do what you do. I said, I didn't do what I did either. I went there, you know, step by step. Anyway, so that's what I think. So when I go to the meeting, I try to, if I can, produce a poster and have a poster in the poster area and to talk to doctors and whoever else is there, nurses, we go to nurse conferences, social workers, and explain our program of get started in a simple, basic way. Our handouts, which have evidence-based information on reducing treatment toxicity, because I never saw the reason for pain and suffering. It is not a solution. I've heard that there's a drug where when you have a terrible rash, that shows it's working. But in general, having nausea, having headaches, having stomach aches, throwing, none of these things are good for us. They make us feel sick. Feeling sick is not a way to get well, in my opinion. Not just my opinion, but I mean, it's ridiculous.
Agreed.
Well, when you're suffering. So, you know, so we're bringing that message, but I'm also listening to what the speakers are saying. And I'm taking, like I said, I'm a generalist. I take these little pieces and I put them together. And then I comment on research. I comment on our Facebook page and in our newsletter. I comment on the research. I comment on what I've heard in the conversations. Then we also occasionally, at least once a year, go to alternative or integrative conference, because I got to cheer myself up and say, yeah, there are people out there who understand what I'm doing. You know, I banged my head against the wall 6 times this year. I think I'll do something else. And I get a big kick out of that. And so I'll go to a meeting where people have heard of our project and it's, you know, it's fun. And, but in general, I feel like I'm needed more in the areas where people do not know. And it's shocking really to know that a lot of people do not know that eating more fruits and vegetables is a great idea. You know, you'd think with all the news, well, okay, let me start back up from that. News stories. So we don't actually have a promotional thing that says eat vegetables. It doesn't go in the news every day, but we have promotion for your drug, your pharmaceutical item every day in every kind of magazine, on TV, blah, blah. Nobody's saying, oh, you should eat fruits and vegetables today. That's not happening. You know, I mean, it's happening, but it's like behind the scenes. It's not front page news. And when there's a study that trashes a diet or a dietary supplement, front page news. How does it get there? Because pharma pays the public relations firms to put it on the front page. But nobody's paying, and we can't do that. We can't afford it. We're all volunteers. We don't have any money, really. We can't pay to say, oh, you should be thinking about dietary supplements. You ought to eat another fruit today. But we have our postcards, and we hand them out everywhere we can to remind people that you should start better health. And
That's
so
great.
it's an ongoing process.
For sure, for sure. Now, why do you think it's so important that we teach people that what we're doing is based on science and it's evidence-based?
Well, doctor's going to scare them. That's the first thing they do. And when they scare you, you lose your ability to think straight. That's everyone happened to me too. So the more evidence you have, and you can, you know, we say you can print from our website, download this study. You want to share with your doctor why you think resveratrol is a heck of a good dietary supplement to take? Bring this study. And they can. It opens a dialogue. And you don't even have to say, oh, doc, I want to take this. You can say, doc, look at this. You know, look what I found. Now, I used to do that to my surgeon. I didn't have an oncologist because I didn't do chemo. And my surgeon, one day I saw my file, you know, it was like this. She had every paper I ever gave her, which was kind of sad. I mean, it didn't go anywhere. It was just in my file. I thought she was sharing it with the world, but anyway, it's a different story. But the fact is, having evidence-based gives us some room to maneuver. And, you know, the medical community is trained to expect pharma level science. So they're even trying to fit nutrition into that square hole, you know, or round hole, whatever. It doesn't work because nutrition is not a drug. I was just having that conversation today with somebody who creates dietary supplements. And I said, you know, the problem we have is everyone's working toward the pharma model. So they want the active element of, you know, oh, you like blueberries? Wait, let me find out. Oh, wait, that's got this little, so what? The blueberries, the food, the raspberry. I mean, I eat a full colored plate. That's one of the other things I do. I took a picture of my own shopping and I had this, I don't know if you can see it, vegetables and fruits. I mean, they're all organic. every day I have at least 20 fruits and vegetables. You don't have to do that, but you have to have a few every day. You should have at least 5 minimum every day. It can be done. But, but don't just have a blueberry every day. Have a raspberry, banana, kiwi, peaches, whatever. And the full color plate's really important because the color represents the nutrients, and we don't know all of them. So if we're looking for that active element, who knows what we're looking for? It's ridiculous. Plus, the whole food creates what our body needs. What's activating it? We don't know that either. So to isolate it, that's pharma, because they want to twist a molecule, make it toxic, and it's a drug. It's always toxic when it's a drug, even if it helps, and that's really sad. But of course, the other problem is there's no serious aim to cure. The Food and Drug Administration in the U.S. has a policy which it will approve a drug if it offers a 2-month survival. And nowadays, they don't even go for actual survival. They have something called progression-free or disease-free progression. So if you're taking a drug that postpones your next stage of problem, that's good enough. And it only has to be 2 months. So the problem I see is so many of the drugs hit the 2-month mark. So if we raised it to at least 6 months, maybe they'd all hit the 6-month mark. I mean, my feeling is, why are they fitting into the 2-month mark? It's ridiculous that they all do that. It's not right. I've been to FDA. When I used to live in New York, I used to go to Washington a lot and testify a few times and argue, this is ridiculous. This is not an advantage. What do we get? And sadly, you get sick during that time. So that's the real problem. The suffering, again, pain and suffering is not part of the cure. It's not part of the treatment. It's not part of the healing. It's the wrong part. You can always, and with the guidance of our handout, people like your programs, that's how people get well. When they feel better, they get well.
That's right. That's right. So you have an amazing event coming up again in February and March in West Palm in 2019. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you, I do. We're actually going to hold our 13th evidence-based complementary and alternative cancer therapies. We started doing it in 2008, so you'll note there's an extra one in there because in 2012 we had 2, one in San Francisco. And we invite speakers from all over the world, all with very interesting qualifications. We have MDs, we have naturopaths, we have acupuncturists, we have homeopaths, and of course we have patient panel, lots of other kinds of things. And each year we have a sort of overall theme, which we call Many Paths to Wellness. And what that means is take what you need and leave the rest, and you don't have to be worried about it. It's okay. Pick and choose. It's your plan. Your plan is about you. So it takes place in West Palm Beach because I'm down in South Florida and it's easier for us to arrange it. We host about between 200 and 250 people, about 16 speakers. The cool thing is we serve only organic food. We walk the walk. And our hotel's very accommodating, which is really cool. Companies donate products to us so that we can give them away to people. It's exposure, but it's also good for our audience. We have a really interesting printed journal. It's usually 60 pages. It has the bios of the speakers, the abstracts, but also some advertising in order to pay for it. But we also solicit articles from people on the topic of interest for that year. So next year, our topic is immunotherapy from a natural perspective.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it's really important because immunotherapy is all the buzz. Nobody really knows what it is. And there's so much that can be done from the natural perspective. So we're going to talk about that. And also we have a section on medical use of cannabis because everyone's interested in that. So between one thing and another, we cover a lot of topics. We have tremendous and fun networking. We have a free movie night. I can't remember what the movie is for next year, but it's going to be fun. It always is. It's always interesting. We usually have a discussant, someone who's involved in the production or the story, and it's a fun atmosphere. Since you've been there, it's
I know. Yeah, it was really a lot of fun, and met some great people, great connections, and the spirit and the energy of the conference was really, really nice. So congratulations.
Too. Yeah, so you can find information on annieappleseedproject.org, and we're going to open registration in September, which is just a few days away. And maybe next week it'll open and people can register, get a hotel room. It's in Florida. The weather, end of February, 75 minimum.
Beautiful. Yes, beautiful. So we'll definitely, we'll have your show broadcast hopefully in September, beginning of October, so we can get the word out and get more people to your conference.
Thank you.
And send me an email too, so I can put it in our newsletter. And
I definitely will. Thank you so much. That's great.
You're welcome. It was great having you, Anne. Do you have any parting words for our audience?
The main thing is, follow your heart and your brain. We don't have any rules for how you figure out what your plan is, but it's got to be what works for you. Because if it's something you don't want to do, what's the point,
Exactly, exactly. Well, you're a wealth of information. Thank you for all you do. You're helping so many people. I love your passion, your energy, and you're so heartfelt. So thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Bye bye.